Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. What are we going to be doing today? I don't know. I got basically all of your feedback. I had been neglecting this, but I got all of your feedback from the suggestions channel merged over into my Obsidian board, and I've identified each player suggestion with a little player suggestion prefix here. And also your name was included if it was your suggestion. That's just extra data for me so I can know, who suggested what, make sure that I'm crediting people when I say that I'm going to work on something. But anyway, it also helps me, to be honest, it helps me just track, okay, I don't want all of the content in the game to be player suggestions, right? So it helps me track what amount of things are in the game because of player suggestions and what are original ideas of mine. So anyway, but yeah, I've got that all worked. I've got that all moved over to the Obsidian board, and I can tell you about how I did that because it's actually pretty darn cool. But before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wish listing. It's also available for playtesting. So head on over to the Steam page, click Request Access. I don't know exactly how long the playtest is going to continue for. Probably at least the next couple of days, I think through early next week. So you still have time to try it. You can also support the game on Patreon. If you subscribe at this top tier for at least 1 month, I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key for the full game. when it launches, and you'll also get your name included in the Alchemortis credits. So that sounds cool to you. I would appreciate the support. You can also support me and the game by extension by purchasing my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. All right. Let's say hello to everybody. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Good morning, Ninja Link. Good to see you. Hello, Ashwin. Good to see you. Good to see you. Light Tiramisu. Welcome. Bolter. Welcome. The game looks so good already. Thank you. I appreciate that. Snupbill, thank you for the IDR 10,000. It's very much appreciated. Welcome, welcome. Where's the yummers? There it is. Could probably find an Obsidian plugin to bar graph out player suggestion count. Yeah, that could work for sure. So the Obsidian, the way that I did this is, so I had been neglecting for a couple of reasons to copy things over from the suggestions list to here. I was basically just taking down like all the quality of life stuff and the bug stuff, but all like the individual like item and stuff suggestions, like those were just coming in so fast that I couldn't stay on top of like making sure to put them all over in the Obsidian board. And so like a week goes by and I haven't like copied over any suggestions. And so I'm like, man, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to, I don't want to sit here for like an hour and like copy and paste and like format it correctly. And so much to my pleasant surprise, I discovered that there's a browser extension for Claude, which can actually interact with web pages. From your browser. And so what I did is I basically went to Discord in the browser and I went to the Alchemortis suggestions channel. And then I said, hey, scroll through this chat for the past 2 weeks and log every single suggestion that is an ability idea, artifact idea, reagent idea, etc. And then I said, if there's anything you don't know how to categorize, just put it in like a little MISC, section, which I have actually. So these are all like the MISC ideas, which I still need to log in my board, but everything else, this was all captured by Claude, like all of this stuff. So it was literally just like, it was actually scrolling up and then like taking screenshots and then like reading the text and then scrolling up and taking screenshots. And it did that for like 3 minutes. And then it's like, here's your formatted document with all the suggestions for the past 2 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh. Like that kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, like clerical work. That kind of just like, there's not really anything interesting happening. It's just a matter of getting data from here to here. Like the LLMs are amazing at that. Just absolutely amazing. And the fact that it was able to interact with my browser page and not just like interact with the page, but like it knew how to figure out what message or what the timestamp was on the message, which is not that impressive. But when I said stop once you get like to 2 weeks in the past, it was like, okay, that's it. I don't need to scroll anymore. And it was just like, I don't know. I'm getting more and more amazed by these things. I said a while ago on stream that I wasn't that impressed with them, probably 6 months ago or something. I was like, yeah, they're okay, but like they still hallucinate and do all these things. But like now they're getting scary good. So yeah, I would definitely recommend if you've got like some kind of clerical work you need to do where you just need to get data from one place to another and there's some like formatting that needs to happen, and the only way to really do it is to like copy and paste and do it manually. Use an LLM for that stuff. That's going to save you a lot of time. I mean, it saved me a lot of time. Like I didn't want to sit there for an hour and like manually format everything. And then I also had to do the step where so it output that intermediary document because I wanted to check it first. And then I just went into Claude Desktop and I said, here's my Kanban board file. Here's all of the new ideas. Create a new card in the Kanban board for each idea and put it in the proper lane. And so Claude did all this too. It put all these cards here from the document. So I didn't even need to update the Kanban board. Anyway, I guess that's enough. I'm not sponsored by Anthropic, so am I? No, I was gonna say maybe never mind. Anyway, I'm not paid by Anthropic. I was thinking like, am I an investor? No, because they're not. They haven't IPO'd yet, and also they're not going to be in the S&P 500 for a while. So I'm not an investor. Hello, RN Genesis. Welcome back. Baron for the win. Think you could do a Gemini and Chrome too. Technically, Copilot and Edge too. Yeah, I guess I'm just behind on what these things can do in the browser. Use a lot for document formatting. The number of times I avoided a siren in the distance for clicking a tab in Word. I don't know what that means. Am I missing something? You avoided a siren in the distance for clicking a tab in Word. I'm going to assume that means that you just like dodged a bunch of problems that you would have encountered. Anyway. So I worked on some new content last night. I added some new corrupted abilities, one of which was Ninjaling's suggestion. When this item is paralyzed, exhaust instead. I fixed a bug related to marionette abilities. So if you guys have been following the Discord, Jack in the Discord pointed this out, which was that if you took this marionette deal damage per minion item, you would have found that if that item got propagated to other items through alchemy, that the individual scaling on each item was not affecting the marionette ability. And fortunately, it was a very easy issue, but easy issue to fix. The problem was simply that this current damage variable here was not captured as part of the lambda's scope. It was out here in the root. In the root of the class. And so if you're familiar with programming, you should be able to see the obvious issue here, which is that every instance of this composed ability, so if I duplicate this composed ability, reconstruct it with this lambda, it's going to be pointing back ultimately to this current damage. And so you're going to have multiple copies of the ability all fighting to set the value of current damage because they're all sharing the same reference. They're sharing like the same variable reference. So that was a stupid mistake on my end. Just moving that stuff into the lambda here fixes that, properly scopes it. And there was another ability. I think it was Sif Spectacles who had the same problem. So I did do a check to make sure that issue was not present anywhere else, and it was present in Spectacles here. So I fixed that. What else? I added the corrupted ability. So this was a modification of somebody else's suggestion. I think somebody had suggested, was it undercooked ravioli? I'm sorry, I don't remember who suggested this, but somebody suggested adding a volatile keyword, which would basically exhaust the item if it executed too many times within a certain time frame. I don't want to go like overboard with the keywords. I kind of feel like there's already a lot of keywords in the game, so I don't want to jump to adding a keyword if it's not necessary. So what I did is I kind of took a variant of that idea and I turned it into a corrupted ability. And the corrupted ability is that the item will become exhausted if it executes 2 or more times in 5 seconds. So it's kind of like, it's not like a generalized functionality, it's just tied to a specific corrupted ability. But I think it's like the same kind of idea in spirit, if you know what I mean. And then the last thing I did is I finished up that legendary reagent that can absorb innate abilities. That's the Blood Bulb Blossom. I shared this in the Discord as well, but what am I doing wrong? Oh, I spelled it wrong. I did blue bulb. Okay, so the blood bulb blossom. That's a tongue twister. This is what I was working on in the stream yesterday. But I finished the art. It's a large reagent item, so it's going to be kind of hard to use with some of the larger items. But yeah, it does exactly what it says it does. So if I do grasping hands, so this has an innate sets cooldown. So I do this. That blood bulb blossom, that became legendary. Interesting. So this has no abilities anymore. It got its innate ability stripped because that innate ability is now in this blood bulb blossom. And so now I can just put that innate over on something else. So that is obviously very powerful. So to compensate for that, it's a legendary reagent, which legendary reagents don't do anything. Like the legendary is just a flag that gives it the fancy effects and whatnot. So the legendary doesn't have like any direct impact on its rarity, but I did turn down the loot table weight to 1. So for context, the default weight is 10. So all the reagents have like a default weight of 10, and there's only a handful of them that have less than 10. And this one has the lowest weight of any reagent. So I think I kind of estimated it yesterday. I think it's like a 1 in 160 chance of being chosen. 1 in 165 or something. So it's the rarest item in the game. It is very powerful. That's, I think that's understandable. And so if you're going to get one, it's probably only going to happen. Like you're not going to get multiple in a run, basically. Like you're probably not going to get one during a run. And when you do get one during a run, it's probably going to be usable in a very powerful way. But it's just one of those like luck things where like you'll just luck into some power occasionally. You know what I mean? Oh, MS Word, especially the online version, is notoriously fragile for formatting mishaps. I got you, okay. All right. So, now that we've covered everything that happened, we're just going to do a bunch of miscellaneous things here. So I kind of do want to do more content. I was trying to fill out the corrupted abilities. So let's look at the ability ideas. Let's see. Actually, I think I had an enchant idea. Let's see. Let's see. Reagent ideas. Add swarm to a random ability. I kind of want to do that. I'm making a lot of reagents, but I want to do this one because that's probably going to contain somewhat of a technical challenge. Add swarm to it. So we take a random ability and we just add swarm to it. Now the question is, I think that should be fine. I think that should be fine. Oh, the other thing we want to do is we want to oh, this is fine. I'm just gonna delete this one. Sorry, we're gonna do a little bit of reorganization here. I don't need this small things anymore. So add swarm to random ability. This is a reagent. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see what we can do. Any exciting releases you liked from Summer Game Fest? I have like 3 games I was thrilled to see. Guild Wars 3. I mean, I don't know if that doesn't count as a release. It's like an announcement, right? But I put a lot of hours into Guild Wars 2, and I haven't played an MMO in a while. So if I were to play an MMO, probably would be Guild Wars 3. But that's probably not coming out for like a decade or so, so I will probably be in my mid-40s when that happens. So many ideas. How to make sure you don't mess with your existing overall synergies. Well, the nice thing about this game is that I don't really have to explicitly design synergies, right? What I have to do is just make sure that there's a wide variety of abilities, and then that there are plenty of abilities that scale with certain things, right? So I have to make sure that there are plenty of abilities that scale in power with bleed and scale in power with damage and with poison. But like, I don't really, like, the nice thing about Alka Mortis is that the synergies are almost entirely player defined, right? By just taking abilities that would work well with your build and like getting them all onto items. So I really don't have to worry about like designing synergies explicitly. The only thing I have to worry about is just like supporting different play styles, right? So if somebody wants to be like this glass cannon fire mage character, like I just have to make sure that there's enough in the game that can support that. If somebody wants to be like a defensive like heal and shielding, you know, I have to make sure that there's enough abilities to support that. So it's like, it's not about making sure the synergies it's not really about designing the synergies. It's just about adding enough abilities that players can just create their own synergies from what's available to them, right? Hello, Mr. Modes. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Hello, Kenjiro. I bought your Udemy MP course for my son, but he tried it only for a short time. Maybe as a father, I have to try it myself. Yeah. I mean, courses aren't for everyone either. And it depends, like, I don't know how old your son is, but it depends on a lot of factors, I think. But yeah, I mean, courses aren't for everyone. And here's the other thing too, like, it's very normal for people to bounce off of courses. Like, I mean, you'd be shocked at the percentage. Like, does anyone want to guess? Like, what is the completion rate for a course? Like, what percentage of students that enroll in a course make it all the way to the last lesson? That one does look great. The beta is open this fall. I'll join it. Yeah, I signed up for the beta, but we'll see. The new WoW expansion has been a blast. No more than 20%. Anyone else want to put a guess in? I guess in the range of 1 to 5%. Less than 1. So yeah, Clickertail is correct. I mean, I guess Ninja Link is technically correct. My courses have a completion rate of like 2 to 3%. And as far as I can tell, that's like normal. Like people just like the course is like this massive funnel that just goes from like thousands of people down to like a couple dozen that finish it. But I mean, you know, you think about it, that makes sense, right? It's like a lot of people will get the gist of the course. They'll get the bulk of what they wanted to learn by like midway through, and then they'll be like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Like this learning resource has exhausted its usefulness. There are people like that, right? But then there are people that, like, you know, they buy it, they think that they're going to take it, and then they go in, do the couple lessons, and they just, for whatever reason, they fall off. Like they're not interested in it, or it's too difficult, or it's not engaging enough, or maybe they just lack the discipline and they want to do this, but they never make the time to do it. So yeah, but that is it's a very, very low number. That sounds right. I initially bought your courses for specific ideas like multiplayer, just wanted to understand how to approach the networking, but I didn't want to finish the entire thing. Yeah, I would suspect that probably a large chunk, I don't know, I'm not an expert on the statistics, but I bet you, like, of the people that make it, like, let's say a quarter of the way through the course and then drop off, probably a good chunk, maybe even the majority of those people are people that are exactly in that boat where, like, they got the gist of it and then they don't need it anymore, right? I think people just like popcorn content more than full breadth content, maybe. I'm loving the playtest so far. There's so many cool things to do, but I have to ask, do you plan to make it harder to gain low cooldown sub 0.6 seconds items. Yeah, so that's a piece of feedback that's coming up very frequently. And I've already taken steps to address that. But yeah, cooldowns are a problem. Actually, I need to make this. I need to do a cooldown pass. So I think number one of the problems is like you could use the fairy wings to swap a cooldown with a reagent. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I made fairy wings not target reagents anymore. I did not. So let's do that actually. Not right now, but I'm just saying like. So yeah, I'm gonna do a cooldown pass. There are some items that just have like cooldowns that are so long that they're almost useless, and then there are like some items that have an extremely quick turn cooldown or cooldown value. So yeah, but that's like the core theme that has been emerging from the playtest, which is the game is fun. It's like there's a lot you can do, but like the cooldown just trivializes the game once you figure out that that's how you can like just instant win. And obviously I don't want that, right? Because it's like then every single run just becomes a matter of like find an item, stuff it with as many like semi-powerful abilities possible, and then just make it execute as many times as possible. And that's the problem with the infusion altar as well. So yeah, those are the two areas where I'll be making sure to like smooth that out a little bit. Like I don't want to make getting low cooldown items impossible, but my view is that if you're going to get down to an item that has like even a 1 second cooldown, number one, it's probably going to require like a good amount of luck, like getting all the right items. And number two, it should be actually pretty hard to even achieve that, even if you do get all the right items. Like you should have to do, in my mind, you should have to do alchemy just right, like several times before you can get to that state. Like it should be a multi-step process to get that low of a cooldown that also requires that you got lucky enough to get the right items to do it. That's kind of how I think about it. You should also increase the cooldown of souls. The other thing that I was noticing too is a lot of people who started playing the game, they were putting reagent items on their board. And then reagents have this problem of like you can swap cooldowns with them, or they can be recipients for like projected abilities, so on and so forth. So I'm almost wondering like, should I just prevent players from putting reagent items on their board? That feels like an inelegant solution. Maybe I'll just increase the cooldown of reagent items just across the board so that you could still use them as recipients for projected abilities if you want to, but there's probably better options available to you. You know what I mean? Please do not increase the cooldown of souls. A huge run winner for me is swap either maggots or the boss so that has 0.6. Yeah. Hello, JK. So this is why we do playtests, though. It's like, I thought that it'd be fun to like have this fairy wings and whatnot, and then it turns out like it's just way too common, and like that's just the go-to strategy every time. But what I really appreciate is that a lot of you have recognized that, and so you've been like playing the game intentionally not using that way of winning, which is very appreciated too, because then I can get feedback that's more related to how like a real run would go. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's see. We want to add swarm to a random ability. Now we got to think of a theme for this reagent again. Add swarm to a random ability. Soul of a fly. I was thinking, like, what is some kind of, like, flying creature? Like, obviously wings. I already have fairy wings. I was thinking maybe, like, I could do, like, maybe locust eggs or something. Necro net. I actually wonder, I've been enjoying doing this recently, where I kind of do callbacks to items that already exist. So, for example, this wasp here, this is the man-eating wasp. This doesn't have a swarm ability, though. Wonder if I should add a swarm ability to the wasp. I was thinking like I could do a callback here, right? So I could say, and I was thinking about doing this with the thorns as well. So I've got a reagent which is bleed briar thorns, right? And then I could create a different thing that's like a bleed briar golem or something, and it's like this thorny golem, right? So it's like there's things that are kind of like related to each other. Like you've got the item instantiation of like it's a minion or whatever, and then you've got like the reagent which is like a part of it or somehow related to it. Not only does that help me come up with ideas easier, but I think it's kind of cool. Like instead of just having each item be a standalone thing, there's like this whole like the items are related to each other. A lot of the items are related to each other in some way, like thematically. Wing of a flying pig, horsehair worms, murder of firebellies. I'm gonna see. I should do my name in one of these things. Let's see, player card. So I might do this actually. Let's just add Firebelly Toad. So for those that don't know, Firebelly Toads are incorrectly named. They're actually frogs. But they're green frogs that have a red and black underbelly. And so I had one as a pet as a kid. And when I first signed up for like online multiplayer games, I just took the name Firebelly, but I had to misspell it. I had to misspell Firebelly because somebody on PlayStation Network already had the properly spelled version. Dang it. So, anyway. Insects, all insects have swarm. Yeah, I was thinking something like that. But anyway, I wonder how well I could draw like locust or man-eating wasp eggs or something. So if we do wasp eggs, let's see. My middle mouse still doesn't work sometimes. Oh, it's working now. Okay. I have a new mouse coming today, so. Anyway. Sorry. I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit slow today. I'm fighting through a headache, and also I pulled a muscle or something in my left arm, so it's just like this constant pain. But the show must go on. Okay. All right. This is turning out pretty decent. I cannot wait to get my new mouse. Okay. I don't like that. Let's see. I have to get used to the keybinds for keyboard panning. Oops. Yeah, I think this is gonna work. I mean, I just need to... Let's do a longer one. No. Okay, and then... That's a little bit awkward. I might move this over. You know what? I think that's pretty much good. I don't want to go overboard. Maybe I'll just add like a smaller one over here. Let's make it go up a little bit. No, I don't like that. I think I like this. I don't know about this one though. Maybe we do this and then something like this. All right, that's probably all right. Make and model being shared across cards. Yeah, or cars, I mean. Bees, but they're too bright, good for Alchemortis. I could do bees. How do wasp eggs taste? Could I make an omelet with that? They taste like jelly. Forbidden caviar. Wasp omelet sounds fire. Remarkable how good it looks when it's zoomed out. Yeah, I think it's yeah, it's one of those things where what am I trying to say? Yeah, it's just like, it kind of like, it looks weird when you're zoomed in, but then if you look at the preview, and then I haven't even started shading it yet. Looks great, thank you. Looks appetizing, honestly. All right, so now we got to figure out like how are we gonna, because I want these to give the impression of being translucent to some extent. And so there's a trick that I learned recently that I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off in this situation. It's too much. The one thing that I've been trying to conscientiously avoid as well is what's known as pillow shading. So if we have any artists in the chat, you probably know what pillow shading is. But pillow shading is basically where you like have your shadow that you're trying to do, but then you just basically like go along that line again. And it just looks kind of weird, right? Like it just looks too uniform. So I've been trying to avoid doing that, trying to shade things a little bit more interestingly. I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to get these to be translucent. The other option is, instead of making these white, I can make them orange. And then let's do this. Red. And then I can take this. Actually, yeah, maybe this won't work that well. No. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off translucency here, but we'll see. So we'll start with that. For this thing down here, this is just supposed to look like, well, I wonder if I should, because the thing I don't want to make it look like is chicken eggs. So I almost wonder if I can do, let's see. Do something like this. I might try to make it look slimy if I can. We'll have to see how that goes. All right, let's see. Can I just strategically place some white pixels here? Is that going to work? Maybe. How am I going to get this to look translucent? That's the problem. If I be a little bit more aggressive with this shading, be a little bit more aggressive with this shading, and then I can maybe do something like this. I don't think that looks bad necessarily. Maybe that works for this one. So the thing with translucency is like, at least what I'm discovering, and I don't know, like, I don't know if I'm going to change my mind on this, but to give the impression that something is translucent generally just means like trying to get the light to, like, the shading to do weird things, right? So like let me think. What am I trying to say? So, you know, here, like a typical, if you were shading a solid object, typically, right, you would have like your highlight like this, and then you do some couple of shadow colors, whatever, like that, right? But with this, you know, I've got the highlight here, and then I've got like a darker base color, but then I've got a really dark color in the middle, but then I throw some of those highlight colors in the spots where you typically wouldn't expect it for like a solid object. And what that tends to do, at least what I think it does, at least sometimes, is it tends to give the impression that the light is like refracting through the object. So I kind of try to accomplish that with this jewel here too. I don't know if I did a super good job of that, but you can see like there's a light green color here and an otherwise shadowed section. So it just kind of, it tends to make it look like the light is doing weird things in the material. Well, like I said, I'm still like doing stuff like translucency and whatnot is still something that I'm like not terribly good with. So I'm just trying to like figure out how do I do that, right? What is the proper way to give something the impression of translucency? And so far, I think this approach is working decently. But, you know, I may learn more about that in the future and do something different. Whatever. Shading from the outside from every angle, no cohesive light source. Right, yeah. If you want them translucent, why not take a value hue between that color you choose and add the background color? Since they're translucent, you see the background through them. That makes sense. Right, so I should probably mention that too. the reason I'm not doing transparency is because I can't. Like, that's a rule I have. The rule I have is every single pixel that gets rendered to the screen in the game has to be exactly one of the 8 colors in my palette. So that means that I can't do anything with the alpha channel. It means I can't do any like in between colors. It's basically just like those are restrictions that I voluntarily took on just for the art style of the game. Obviously, I could do those things if I didn't put that restriction on myself, but I'm glad you brought that up because I think probably some people are watching this and being like, why doesn't he just change the alpha value? Like, why is he struggling like this? It's because that's the rule that I have for myself for this game anyway. But that also makes things like shaders a little bit weird too, because, you know, like when I want to do like a fade in and out, I can't just change the transparency of like whatever I'm trying to fade out, you know? Okay, well, I think that, I mean, I think it looks decent. I mean, I think it looks fine. I think, you know, I'm still trying to learn how to do this, but I think maybe I'll get better at that at some point and I can come back and revisit it, but I think it's okay for now. And I'm just gonna put in some strategically placed I feel like that needs to go, oh, yeah, actually. I think it's okay. I'm gonna get rid of that extra pixel there that just, well, maybe not actually. What if I make this red instead? No, that just looks out of place. Maybe I'll just keep that then. Yeah, it's whatever. Okay. Can make the highlights pretty bright to suggest the form and reflect their true color. Use your darkest white as the top outline of the eggs. I'm out of coffee, sad. How long have you been working on Alchemortis and what's the hardest mechanic you had to add? Hello, Cookin' BK. How long have I been working on Alchemortis? Since March of 2025. So a year and 3 months, basically. And what else? What's the hardest mechanic? I just think like, so the hardest mechanic I had to add, the reason, so this mechanic is still in progress. It's not like it's been added, but it's like, it's still in progress. It's the ability system, I think, by far. which makes sense, right? Because that was like the core of the game. So designing the ability system to be as generic as possible while also not requiring like a ton of boilerplate. And then obviously getting all those generic abilities to work in a predictable manner in a way that enables me to actually create new abilities for the game. Yeah, that was and is still a hard thing to do. I think I largely have it solved though. I think it's largely just a matter of like extending it when necessary to support new abilities and whatnot, but yeah, the ability system is the hardest thing probably because there's just a lot going on, and obviously there's a lot of different ability types, and so trying to create a framework that allows all those ability types to be supported without spaghettifying the code, because like there's a way to approach making this game where it just becomes an unmanageable mess, right? Like you don't know why things are happening, you don't know where things are coming from, you don't know why there's these 4 conditionals in this area of the code here. So yeah. In my 1-bit game, I have a shader that covers the entire screen in order to force something to be only 2 colors. I use Bayer dithering to be able to pull off some of the transparency stuff. Oh, very nice. Thank you, GimOT. Appreciate that. Hello, Emerson. Welcome back. Okay. Did I not export this? There we go. Okay, so this is a 2x1. This is a reagent. I forgot what I'm even working on. Oh, add swarm to a random ability. Right. I hope this is possible. It should be possible. Is there anything else in here I need to change? I don't think so. Flavor text as well. So this is actually man eating wasp eggs. So we'll do a callback to that man eating wasp. And we need to do the flavor text as well. Okay, let me commit what I have. Okay. So I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we're going to try to implement that. We have the wasp eggs here. So I'm going to need to figure out how to get the swarm ability to do what I want it to do when it's used in alchemy. So that's probably going to require a little bit of thinking and research here, but maybe a new insect secondary tag. Yeah, we're getting to that point. I do want to more fully explore the secondary tags, but I think that's going to be easier to do like when I have a lot more items in the game. So I'm thinking maybe I'll create, I don't know, 50 more items, or just keep gradually adding items and then reevaluate and see what happens. But yeah, I definitely think like an insect tag would be good. Don't forget to stretch, gang. Yeah. All right, I'm going to be right back in just 3 minutes, and we will continue on. Okay, I'm back. And both of my cats are in here now. So we will see how long it takes for my train of thought to be derailed by one of these goblins. I captured them. They're just like, what are you doing with me? Okay. All right. So we need to add swarm to a random ability on an item. How are we going to do that? Yeah, they are cute. They are cute. Let me think about this. So this may actually be a lot more involved than I think it's going to be. Let me think about this. So this needs to... All right, let's do this. Alchemy added. Okay. Let's create a new file called alchemy swarm. I'm just going to copy this. So we've got alchemy swarm. This is an I non-combat ability, I alchemy reagent effect. Let's see. I don't need this. I actually don't think I need any of this. Maybe configure query. Okay, public alchemy swarm. We get rid of this. We don't need this. Okay, we configure the query. Is reagent is copyable. Adds the following. Oh, maybe I do need a translation key. Okay. We will worry about this stuff later. Yeah, we'll worry about that later. We don't need this. This will be ability alchemy swarm. Okay. We don't need this. Scale for tier, we do need that. So basically what this needs to do is when we do contribute effect, I may have to come up with a whole different thing. So this contribute effect, let's close others. Alchemy input config. So what happens is we do collect reagent stats. This calls contribute effect on everything. But I don't know if this swarm fits into that, because what I need to do is essentially I need to pick a random ability probably after the alchemy has shuffled the abilities. So this would be like a post ability resolution step. So I don't think I can actually fit it cleanly into here. Unless I could like register a callback. So I could, for instance, use the query target provider to get all the cards that this should affect. And then I can register a callback for that card that basically says, after you've resolved everything with that card, so get randomized output. So we have this alchemy output result. What I could do at the end here, so this get randomized output, this is what actually like changes all the card things. So at the very end, after it's all been modified, what I would do here is I would do something like reagent effects dot post something callbacks or input card dot invoke with input card, something like that. So then I can keep this pattern that I have, which is that for all the reagents they implement alchemy reagent effect, which is this contribute effect, and this receives a bunch of context about like what's happening during alchemy. And so that way I can keep all of the logic very narrowly defined to the individual reagent abilities. So it's all happening in a very generalized and systemic way. I don't want to be in a situation where, like, I was doing this earlier on in development where I was like actually checking the individual abilities in here. So I'd be like, oh, if I have an alchemy added ability, do this. And if I have an alchemy this ability, do that. And obviously I don't want to clutter all this already complex code with a bunch of checks for specific alchemy abilities. So I moved to this generic framework, which is basically this like giant effects object, and then I can modify the things in here from within the reagent class. Sorry, the cats went out. All right, so I think the callback approach is probably a good one. Let me think about this. And the other thing too is this contribute effect, I think. Effect multiplier. Oh, you know what? I don't think I'm accounting for the effect multiplier in here. Okay, I need to do something here. Verify effect multiplier used for reagents properly. This one, I would need to check gold specifically. I actually don't know if I like that. Anyway, we don't have to get into that now. But I have an effect multiplier, like there are some things in the game that cause reagents to happen multiple times. And I think the way it works right now is I actually have to account for that. Yeah, effect multiplier. Yeah, I'm passing it in here. I wonder why I do that versus just calling contribute effect multiple times. I may move to that pattern instead. So in here, what I would do is I would say for effect in reagent, get base composed abilities of type I alchemy reagent effect. And then I would do for var I in effect multiplier, so on and so forth. Then call contribute effect multiple times. The problem with that though is that like something like fairy wings, if it applies twice, it will just basically do nothing because it's going to flip it both times. I don't know. I have to give that some thought. The real question would be, can the ability of a swarm be transferred to another item? Yeah, that's the goal, yeah. The goal is like this swarm modifier just kind of like wraps the ability and it becomes a new ability that works the same as every other ability. Okay. So I think I'm going to go with the callback approach. So let me go into my alchemy reagent effects. We're going to do a public, actually record reagent effect card. I'm seeing so much room for improvement here, but I don't want to get sidetracked like reworking my code every 5 minutes. Oh well, let's just start doing the new way of doing things that I want to think about. So we're gonna do action base card. So we're gonna do card to post output callbacks. This should be a list. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say register post output callback base card for card action base card callback card to post output callbacks dot try get value for card out var callback list question mark equals this callback list dot add callback. That should be it. So let's do public list action base card. I'm actually going to do can I do this? Okay. Get post output callbacks. Try get value. Okay. I have a minor issue here. I need to reassign this because if it's null, it won't be added into the dictionary. Okay. All right, let's do I have to make this public? I don't know. I hope not. I'm probably not going to work. That accessibility is not going to work, is it? Anyway, what I'm going to do is for var I equals 0, I is less than effect multiplier. Effects.register post output callback. Target card. Oh, it does work. Cool. All right, so then in here, this is where I'm actually going to do the meat of the thing. So I got to do the meat of the thing in here. Oh, I kept that message up way too long. Sorry about that. Why don't you do membership on YouTube as another way for people to support you? I could definitely do that. I think the problem with that is like I would feel obligated to like have some like member specific content and whatnot, but maybe I can just enable it. Thank you for the Canadian $5. Thank you so much. Destituo, I haven't tried to pronounce your name before. Demonis, Destituo Demonis. I think that's how it's supposed to be said. Very much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. That's very generous. I would love a video from you on how you designed your item ability system to be flexible as it is. Yes, that's the... So I've been doing those kind of like videos on my Patreon, which I haven't done one in a while because I've been preoccupied with like getting the playtest out, but I'm going to continue making those videos. So you can subscribe to the Patreon if you want. It's just $3 a month to get access to the exclusive content. But I do have a plan to do more deep dives for the YouTube channel. So even if I already covered something on Patreon, I'll probably do another video later on the YouTube channel about how it works. That's probably going to be post-release though. So I think post-release after the game is publicly available for sale, you know, I'll make all kinds of videos like here's how the ability system works, here's how I do some pixel art, so on and so forth. The hope is that you know, Alka Mortis becomes moderately successful, and then there will be a bunch of developers out there who have the same question as you, which is like, how did you do your ability system? And so, you know, I think it would be really cool if, for example, the Slay the Spire devs, and maybe they do this, I don't know, I haven't seen anything, but it would be really cool if like the Slay the Spire devs or like these other devs who make really good games would like on their own YouTube channels like show you a deep dive into the engine. I've always enjoyed seeing stuff like that, and that can be incredibly valuable too. Like to see how, you know, I'm not calling myself a professional, but to see how a professional would do something and how they approach their game is like some of the most valuable stuff that you can get, honestly. Like there's a difference, like, you know, there's classroom instruction is one thing, going to tutorials is another thing. But seeing like what do actual professionals who are actually making a living doing this thing, what does their code look like? What does their workflow look like? That is like incredibly valuable. And so my hope is that Alchemortis is successful enough that people will be interested in those kinds of things, and then I can show everyone how that works. But I'll do that after release. I did change my name as to that a long time ago as a troll for that exact reason. Gotcha. What is Helm of Geoffrey the Great? Is it just text? Does it have any significance in the game? So I do, like, this is one of the things where I'm kind of torn on it. Like, I would love to do more explicit lore in the game. I just don't know if that's within scope. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to reasonably accomplish that prior to release. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, at least through the item text and the flavor text, like, give you at least a little bit of world building. Like, give you an impression of like how this world works and like what's going on in the world. Kind of like the Dark Souls-esque like storytelling where you've got like item descriptions and stuff. And that's just like, that's an easy way of like giving players who are interested in lore something. But I would like to take it a step further and to actually like have explicit, like an explicit story, like an explicit explanation of like what's actually going on in this world. And I have that planned. Like, I already know like what's happening in the world. It's just a matter of like, do I have the time to be able to introduce the players to that in a deeper way? We'll see. It's something I would like to do. Multiple people have expressed that they want to know more about what's happening in the game world. So we'll see. We'll see. Hello, Malicious Rabbit. A Saturday morning stream in this economy, yeah. You've heard of Saturday morning cartoons, but how about Saturday morning Firebelly streams? Okay. So var valid abilities is equal to base card dot get base composed abilities dot where x dot is alchemizable. So is alchemizable is just a... Actually, maybe I don't need to do that. Get all combat executable. Get base composed abilities. Do I want to add another method here? I mean, there's a number of interesting questions here. Like, there's nothing that's technically stopping me, for example, for wrapping an innate ability in Swarm. The problem is that Swarm becomes the new top level ability, and then the inner ability is a thing that Swarm executes. So if I were to wrap a Swarm ability... If I were to wrap an innate ability in Swarm, I would have to take the innate flag off of the inner ability and put it on the Swarm ability. Okay, let's not worry about that case yet. Actually, no, innate abilities... No, wait, I'm thinking about this wrong. Innate abilities, just as a game rule, cannot be changed by alchemy, so... Never mind, we don't need to worry about any of that, because I'm just going to exclude innate abilities from Okay. We will, however, allow corrupted abilities to gain swarm. Oh wait, no, is corrupted the same? Corrupted is the same rule, isn't it? Dang it, I was hoping I'd be able to screw over the player. No, wait. We could be really legalistic here. Corrupted abilities cannot be replaced or transferred to other items when used in alchemy. Innate. Cannot be replaced, cannot be copied, replaced. Now I'm kind of confused. Is copyable. Are corrupted abilities copyable? I don't think corrupted abilities should be copyable. I guess it's kind of like So there's weird stuff happening now. So I have the game rules, which is the way that I intend for the game to work. And then there's like the technical rules. And so from a technical perspective, I'm like, wait, are the corrupted abilities copyable? And I think like that's a problem. But then I read the corrupted description that I've written out and it says, it doesn't say anything about them not being copyable. It just says they can't be modified in alchemy. It doesn't even say that. It says they can't be replaced or transferred to other items in alchemy. So something like the swarm decorator could be added to a corrupted ability, right? And the same with innate. Like innate doesn't say that it can't be modified. It just says it can't be replaced or copied or transferred to other items. Now I'm wondering what I should do about this. Just started playing the game and I have a few cards that say it and I was curious. Oh, gotcha, yeah. Hello, Junie. Any plans for the combat log? Yes, I have actually a combat log rewrite on a separate branch right now. The problem that I'm struggling with is like there's so much information and I have such a low resolution that I'm struggling figuring out like what does the actual UI look like. Like I literally don't know where to put the combat log on the screen. What I may have to do is keep like the condensed form of the combat log and then have like a separate window that you have to open up to do a deeper inspection. So anyway, I don't need to think about that right now, but that's one of the things that I'm stuck on currently. But yeah, the combat log needs to be reworked for sure. Okay. This is ballooning into quite the effort. Let's just filter out innate, passive, and corrupted for now. We'll call this the happy path. Oh, you know what I need? Post output callback. Son of a biscuit. I need the RNG as well. Sorry, this is actually a little bit more delicate than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I think like the path to doing this is very straightforward. I just need to make sure that I'm not introducing any side effects. And I'm also preserving the way that alchemy is expected to work. So right now the problem is that I have an RNG object that gets passed to every reagent. And the reason is because I actually store the next alchemy seed in the save file. And the goal of that is just to prevent save scumming, where you throw a bunch of items into the pot, you don't get the output that you want, so you just like quit the game and reload and you do that exact same alchemy again. So I'm kind of combating that by just saying you're going to get the same output with the same inputs for that seed. And the seed only advances once you actually complete the alchemy. But that seed needs to be propagated through everything that uses an RNG value. So here's that scoped RNG that gets created there. So we register the context there. This post output callback is going to become alchemy reagent context as an argument in there. Okay. And I might change this contribute effect to not pass the context anymore. And we'll just have a method. Actually, yeah, let's do that. I mean, I'm not going to do that right now, but public alchemy reagent context, get context for reagent, base card, try get value. Okay. Oh, okay, we're almost done. Contribute effect, post output, callback, okay. So we're back in this block. Let me just make a note in here as well. Just swap the combat log for a DPS meter. That could work too. Problem is screen real estate, yeah. Just having it open up taller would work well enough. Maybe. I could do that. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot to do with that. Anyway. Valid abilities. So anyway, if valid abilities dot count is equal to 0, we return context is equal to, oh, I actually don't have the reagent effects. I need this in here. Okay. We pass in that object, then we come here. Context is equal to effects.get context for reagent. I have another problem here. I don't have the reagent. Okay. Yeah. I don't have the reagent. Let me think about this. Let's do public record, post output, callback context. Public post output callback, get init. Required base card reagent, get init, and then public required base card target, get init. Okay, this will become a list of post output callback context objects. Post, we'll do context. This will return post output callback context. All right, so register new post output callback context. Reagent is equal to context.reagent card. Target is equal to target card. I do need to change this callback now. Goodness gracious. All right. Do I have all the information I need now? Okay, so get context for reagent. Why am I doing this again? Oh, for the RNG, right? Zero to valid abilities dot length dot count -1. Okay. Ability, let's do ability builder. Swarm. Decorated ability is random ability dot duplicate. So now we need to actually replace the ability. Let's grab the index. Actually, so we do the random ability dot duplicate. I think what I need to do is target dot remove composed abilities predicate x. X is equal to random ability. Actually, I'm just going to make this easier for myself. Replace ability. Oh boy. I just realized something. This does not this does not go through the proper update. So the problem here is that whenever I modify the ability list, probably what I want it to do is do this. So it needs to do the sorting again. It needs to do the scaling. It needs to rebuild the ability tree. And then re-invoke this stuff. So this is fine, this add composed abilities. Basically what I need to do is I need to probably take this out and put this in a different method. And then any change that I make to the ability list needs to call this. So I'm not going to worry about that just yet, but that is something that I need to do in any case. Let's call this replace base ability. Original base composed ability new. New ability. Bar index is equal to composed abilities dot find index. If index is less than 0, we'll just return out of this. And I could say composed abilities index is equal to new ability. And then rebuild ability tree. Okay, target dot replace base ability, random ability with the swarm. What games are you playing in your spare time? Basically nothing at the moment. If I have time, I play Arc Raiders, and I played a little bit of Path of Exile, but I haven't played a game in probably close to a week now. When I do find a game to play, it's usually only for like an hour or two. I'm working on Alchemortis. It's one of those things too where it's like, I think if you get really deep into a project, you may experience this as well, where it's like playing a game is just not that fun anymore. And the reason is because like I get so much more enjoyment out of working on Alchemortis. Like, and it's not, enjoyment is the wrong word, because it's not like the moment to moment work is fun, but what it is like the work is more satisfying, right? Like playing a video game is just like raw entertainment, right? Whatever effort you put into a video game is basically just relegated to that video game. But, you know, when I'm working on Alchemortis, I'm like improving my code and I'm working towards a final goal of releasing the game and I'm learning new things, and like all those things have more of like a feeling of permanence to them. And so maybe enjoyment is the wrong word. I get more satisfaction out of working on Alchemortis than I get from playing a game. So it's hard for me actually to just stay in a game for a long time right now. Now that may change, like once Alchemortis releases and I don't have an active project to work on aside from like content patches or bugs or whatever. Maybe I'll go back into that mode where I could just like blow a whole day playing a game or something, but right now it's just not that satisfying. PoE 1 or 2? PoE 2. I like PoE 2 a lot better than PoE 1. I need to do more on this PoE 2 league in Act 3 right now, but I've been busy working on the game. Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I think I just started Act 2. So yeah. I get the same satisfaction out of building a game as I used to get as a kid making something in Minecraft. Yeah, it's kind of like that. The dopamine hits are more rewarding with making a game than playing a game. That's probably true too, yeah. So it's not like, you know, it's not like a big sacrifice like, oh, woe is me, I can't play games because I have to work on Alchemy Mortis. It's more like, I would rather work on Alchemy Mortis, you know? It's more satisfying. Even when my code is being a pain in the rear. So anyway, there's a good chance that I broke something or I messed something up here. But we're going to test it and see what happens. I have a sneaking suspicion that I forgot to wire something up here, but let's see. Now, this is not done, because not only do I have all those to-do comments that I need to address, but as it stands right now, this swarm will not be persisted to the save file. Okay, it didn't work, but I think I know why it didn't work. At least to start. Oh, maybe not. What did I copy this from? Okay. I have another bug that I need to work on here. Verify that reagents. Okay. So anyway, this should, oh, it's not working because I didn't add it to the wasp eggs. Translation key. Okay. Let's build. Hello, Kazori. Welcome back. Good to see you. Okay, so this is just the text is not correct, but we should get this targeting now. Let's see what happens. It got corrupted. Look at that. Swarm deal 4 damage. So let's just add a maggot. Yeah, that's working. Cool. So that is a pretty cool reagent. It's not done yet though, because like I said, it's not going to persist to the save file. So that's going to be a problem that needs to be addressed. I have a bunch of stuff to fix with respect to how items can be removed and added to cards. Like I said, I need this update logic here to run whenever this composed abilities list changes. And right now, my remove composed abilities and my replace base abilities don't do that. So I think that should be easy to fix. I also had some other to-dos here, didn't I? I think this is looking good. Oh yeah, and then I want to see if Swarm should be a target for innate and corrupted abilities. So the thing here is that, again, like this Swarm is a new composed ability that wraps an inner ability. And so if that inner ability is innate or corrupted, that state needs to be cleared on the inner ability, and then it needs to be added to the Swarm. So I would do swarm.set is innate, and then I would do swarm.set is corrupted or whatever. Set as corrupted ability, etc. And then the problem is that all has to be added to the save file, because I currently don't have a way of supporting the case in the save system where I take a dynamic ability, I wrap it in Swarm. Like there's no possible way for the save file to understand that that's what happened, because the save file, again, it works off of a provenance system where it says, okay, where did this ability originate from? But the problem is that when I create a Swarm ability from potentially any ability in the game, right? That ability doesn't have a provenance. The inner ability has a provenance. And I suspect that's what would happen in the save file, is that it would just restore the inner ability here without the Swarm. Because there is no predefined ability in the game across like the legendary abilities, the corrupted abilities, or all of the card abilities in the game that is Swarm of this ability, right? So I have to say in the save file essentially that I've created a dynamic Swarm ability that decorates this ability. So I know where the inner ability came from. That inner ability will have a provenance. That inner ability will have a provenance, and then, but I need to tell the save that that needs to be wrapped in Swarm, and then I need to tell the save system that if that Swarm is innate or corrupted, that needs to be restored as well. And then I'm going to also need to check, like I'm going to have to check a whole chain of things. Because, for example, I could have like the boss souls, right? I could have the boss souls, which grab a random ability. It converts that to an alchemy added ability. But then that alchemy added ability ends up on an item. And then that alchemy added ability that ended up on an item could have Swarm wrapped around it. So I have to make sure like that whole chain works through the save system. I think it should work, but yeah, it's just one of those things where like I have to make sure that that's going to be proper. Oh. But generally speaking, it's getting there. I mean, we proved the base case, right? We proved that I can do a reagent that adds Swarm now. And so now it's just a matter of making sure that that persists. Just got a Divine Orb in Act 3 from the new Rune Stones. Oh, nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So yeah, I'm going to have to be working on this some more this afternoon, but I'm going to hop off and eat lunch now. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Hopefully I get my new mouse soon. I'm like obsessed with that because there's nothing more annoying than having a mouse where the middle mouse click doesn't work. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up, but anyway, you can join the playtest for Alchemortis. It's still available. Just go to the Steam page, click request access. If you enjoy the game, if you're looking forward to it, if you find it fun, please give it a wish list. There are problems with this playtest, which many of you have brought up, but I'm happy to hear that despite the problems, it's fun, it's engaging, you guys are having fun with it. So yeah, this is what the playtests are for. They're for identifying problems and fixing those and tweaking everything. So yeah, appreciate the feedback. And yeah, thank you everyone again for watching. I will probably not be streaming tomorrow, so I'll see you back here on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, bye-bye.